And welcome back to TYT's The Conversation. I now have for you someone you may recognize. She's the co-creator of The Daily Show, founder of Abortion Access Front, and a host of a new show called Feminist Buzzkills Live. Lizz Winstead, thanks for joining us, Lizz.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, so I know you've been extremely busy being the founder of Abortion Access Front, and the future of abortion, it's really been at the forefront of many minds nowadays. So let's kind of quickly catch everyone up on where things stand as far as this Texas SB8 law. Can you share with people, that law that bans most abortions after the 6 weeks of pregnancy and lets citizens sue, where things stand right now?
So where things stand is the law went before the Supreme Court in an urgent plea. The Supreme Court ruled that the law could stay in place, the 6-week ban and the sort of bounty hunting piece that you referred to, which deputizes anyone, anywhere to sue somebody who is helping someone in Texas access an abortion. And so they said, though, the sort of tiny carve out was that they could sue a few people, i.e. physicians and nurses could sue if somebody tried to take their license away. But that is about it. So what the Supreme Court has done is pave the way for copycat people to create the same kind of laws. We have seen Alabama propose almost an identical law. Ohio's talking about the same kind of law, and it feels really terrifying. Now, the clinics are doing one last move where the other sort of sticking point in this was that Justice Gorsuch said that their ruling had to go to the very conservative circuit court if they wanted to appeal it, instead of to the initial court that ruled that the law was unconstitutional, which was a state court. The clinics are appealing the Supreme Court to say, why can't this ruling and why wasn't this ruling sent back to the court that it came from? So there's a lot of shenanigans going on with that as far as Texas goes. And then we have Mississippi.
Oh gosh, oh my goodness. It's like all of the hurdles that they're making us jump through just so we can have some say over our body and how we choose to use it. And I know you had said that essentially the Supreme Court has sent it back to the Court of Appeals, the Circuit Court of Appeals, that's the Fifth Circuit there, and they are super conservative. And there seems to be an issue in part largely because they're just kind of sitting on it, right?
They're just kind of sitting on it. And this whole law, and we should all just take pause as to the length with which Republicans in Texas and activists in Texas who crafted this law spent on making sure they could find a loophole that was terrorizing people. What this bounty hunting thing does is by deputizing citizens to bring charges against people, all it does is have providers and anybody who's trying to help someone access care, they're just living in fear of a lawsuit. And so it's not that they're gonna get sued necessarily, but if anybody could at any point, it's terrifying. Yeah. And so clinics don't want to provide the care because they're terrified they're gonna get sued. A doctor doesn't want that on their record. And then think about folks who, work in reception at a clinic. Think about folks who aren't doctors, aren't nurses, but are doing this, and they make $20 an hour and they're trying to feed their families. They're terrified to go to work. They're terrified that they might not have a job. And so we have just created this very vulnerable healthcare space where it's terrifying that healthcare providers can't even bring you the care they need because they're so terrified.
Yes, it has an utter chilling effect on people exercising what should be a constitutional right. Yeah. And the fact is, you're absolutely right. They spent all this time finding this loophole, and it really speaks to the lengths that a lot of leadership are willing to go to curb individuals' rights to autonomy and bodily autonomy.
And they are to just terrorize the most vulnerable. Poor folks, Black and brown folks, people who are literally In the world of how society doesn't value resources for folks, people who are living in conditions where their water is trash, they're living in an environmental crisis, they're living in a reproductive health crisis, they're living in a voting crisis. It's just adding so much oppression on top of oppression. And as Adam Serwer often says, the cruelty is the point. And it really does feel like the cruelty is the point, because when you have more people than oppressors, you have to make sure that those people are marginalized and beaten down so that they can't rise up.
And that definitely seems to be what they are doing, chilling the individuals who actually need the healthcare services as well as the healthcare providers. Yeah. And right now, I know on Monday that abortion providers went back to the Supreme Court in what they're describing as that long shot bid to challenge Texas's abortion law. And I'd love to hear thoughts on why do you think it's such a long shot?
I think it's a long shot because what they're trying to do is get the law out of the hands of the circuit court and back into the hands of the court that brought it, ruled in their favor. Texas is so hell-bent on making sure that abortion is not going to go into effect. And as they're trying to facilitate some kind of place where people can start giving care again, the realities are pretty grim. So when you look at just Texas, right? It's a state that has about 27 million people of reproductive age. Since this law went into effect, the state of Oklahoma has been 4-week waiting period to access care because of Texas. Louisiana, 6 weeks of waiting period. People, if they have the means, are traveling so as far as Maine to get the care they need. And so what's happening is those with privilege are getting it. Those who are seeking abortion and do not have means are having a really hard time accessing the care. And if you look at this Mississippi case that's come down the pike, saying that they want, instead of the Roe v. Wade, 24-week is sort of this guaranteed constitutional right. The Mississippi case says we want it to be 15, and the justices have clearly indicated they're leaning towards that. 12 states will ban abortion outright when the decision comes down in June, with 12 more having laws on the books that will almost totally ban abortion. And we are not prepared for the amount of I guess you'd call it a healthcare desert, for lack of a better way of putting it. We're not prepared for it. And we're not prepared for the lengths that people are gonna go to end pregnancies, because as we all know, abortions don't end, safe abortions end.
No, exactly. Yes. And as you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of other states and the resources that they have become inundated. And there are individuals who can't get safe abortions, but will maybe try anyways. And that just puts people's lives at risk. And it's all for people to feel that they can oppress others.
Exactly.
And so, I know you have a background in television and in writing and being a creator. And so you've created this new show called Feminist Buzzkills Live. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Abortion has been an issue, and reproductive care in general has been an issue that hasn't been talked about enough in activist progressive circles. And so we wanted to do a talk show where, instead of getting to the point where we're at with Texas, when these bills are introduced, we are talking about them in early stages with experts, with providers, with activists, so that we can actually start conversations early and start squelching some of this stuff before it gets to hair on fire. What do we do? Combine that with, some comedy bits. It's always fun to poke fun at hypocrisy, and then having some music and some comedians on who are doing really good activist work and also doing performances. I like to say we're sort of like a more progressive View, and we never, ever, ever will have to do a nationwide search to replace Meghan McCain, and I feel really good about that.
I feel very good about that too. That is a problem that I would say no one should have, but ABC, that's their own issue.
Thursday on YouTube, Go subscribe at the Abortion Access Front YouTube channel. It's a way to get involved in the chat. We drop new episodes at 4 p.m. on Thursdays. And I'm just really excited to have a conversation that's not based in just steeped in pedantic. It's like conversational, but really fact-based and passionate, and also gives people a call to action as to how they can get involved. So when you hear what's going on in Texas, tell me more, you'll not only hear the story, how it plays out and can affect where you live if it's not in Texas, and how you can directly help when things are happening in certain places on the ground. And I think that's really key. I think people can feel very helpless.
Yes, and giving them essentially the answers, what they can do, as well as some entertainment in the process. That's not a bad thing at all, Liz. I'm a fan of that. Yes, and so can you remind everybody where they can get a chance to watch and subscribe to Feminist Buzzkills Live, and when it is accessible to them, so that they can get the information they need to really take a meaningful role when it comes to fighting the abortion battle that is ongoing right now in our court system and across our country?
Absolutely. You can find Feminist Buzzkills Live at the Abortion Access Front YouTube channel. Go there, subscribe. It drops at 4 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. And then once it's up, you can just watch it throughout. But really great guests, really important subject matter, and also just ways that you don't feel hopeless in a world that sometimes can feel incredibly hopeless. So that is it. Do it. Come join us. It's going to be fun. And hopefully you'll come on and be one of our guests, ma'am.
Oh, I would absolutely love that. Yes, without a doubt, that would be fun.
Excellent.
Oh my goodness, so many great things. And where can people find you on social media, Liz?
They can find me at Lizz Winstead. I spell my name with 2 Z's. So on all of the social platforms, you can follow that, and you can follow Abortion Access Front and all the updated news on what's happening in reproductive health, rights, and justice at Abortion Front.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lizz Winstead.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.